All right. Good morning, gentlemen. Bob here, back once again, breaking down some Bitcoin, getting right into it. So weekly chart, figured I'd start here. I know I talked about it yesterday that I was figuring, all right, this should be the low for the week, and I mean it very well could still be, but obviously we're retesting it fairly early in the week here. I would expect that the bulls will try to defend this level and treat it as a double bottom, so we could start to get maybe something that looks similar to that candle that we were talking about. Now the issue would be that maybe we end up with something more like this during the week, so it could literally just gyrate between the wicks all week and then still just end right here. If it does, that gets us an official double bottom, and then maybe we look at a candle like this the following week. But as of right now, we just got to see if the bulls can defend this level. Let's zoom in on the shorter term time frame so we can kind of talk about what we were looking for yesterday and more hoping for than looking for. Because at the end of the day, I pretty much should just assume that every single bullish move that Bitcoin makes is going to be met by an equivalent bearish move. So once again, we pop up here, get a really nice strong move, which, and I know I'd said in a video yesterday, I was watching this and I'm like, man, yeah, that's going to do exactly what it did. And it did. The problem is that, again, this was a bearish pattern. Realistically, it should have broken down. And when you look at it on the daily, I think that's even more telling as far as like what could or should have been expected. Like these two green candles right here, that really, I think the only reason this thing popped was because it found support on the 21 on the daily chart, so it popped there. But the reality is this little two green candle pattern right here is typically met by downside the following candle. So this is more of what you'd expect to see if you were going to get this third day pop. So again, the market is just, it's showing certain signs and then kind of deviating a little bit. And again, it's all about trepping bears and bulls. But, again, and this is kind of the same thing we've been dealing with for quite a while now. Every time we get a bearish divergence, which again, we talked about this yesterday morning, and I said, hey, it looked like it's already starting to play out. Popped down to about 31,000 and then spent most of the day trying to push back up through here, and it just never could. But we talked about this yesterday, that there was some likely hidden bearish divergence, and it played out very shortly after the 8 o'clock hour, and just kind of dumped right through here and through all the supports we really kind of needed to hold in order to see continued upside. So now you look at this and you say, all right, now it seems much more likely that this thing could roll back down. And if it rolls back down to that line right there that you see, that essentially is a good representation of this guy right here, at least to an extent, at which point, we're talking about coming back down 27,000 range. Again, this all assumes that this level doesn't hold. If this level can hold up today, then I might expect that it would actually pop back up off of it. And even if this thing comes down a little bit lower, again, and it's just, again, same thing that we've been talking about, you go straight from a bearish divergence right back into a bullish divergence. This thing, if the price action falls far enough and this thing holds up here, you can see that it's basically equivalent to this guy on the RSI. Price action's already lower, so that should lead to a bullish divergence. But what I think would probably, depending on where we close out the day, if we close out the day, say down here, well, then that bullish divergence is just going to more than likely result in a bearish retest of the 21. So really, we just need to hold this 21, and I'll click on it so you can kind of see where it flows through. But we just need to hold that at this point. But this was a pretty nasty little double top with bearish divergence, and you can see it playing out accordingly. So I don't, at that point, but let's go ahead and we'll zoom in on some shorter term time frames. Let's actually jump over to the 1 and 4 hour chart. And I kind of had myself set up yesterday where I kind of looked at it and said, all right, if we hold all these areas, it's green. We're going to stay green. If we lose these areas, we're going to be in the red. And so now it seems we're going to be operating within this red section here. Depending on where we get some closures here in the next 30 minutes, this could end up being a little double bottom action. Could potentially spring back up out of there at least a little bit. But you can see here this hourly trend line that I drew, which I always put orange for hourly. You can see right here where it just died right through it and just absolutely killed every support level that we would have needed to hold to stay pretty bullish, which would have been right here and then right here and right here. And you can see that Bitcoin, the way it's been flowing lately, it just absolutely craps through all the support zones and then just goes on to wherever it was heading. So, the interesting thing here is, and honestly, I can't remember if yesterday I'd put this on here, but, this little tiny pattern here, in the event that Bitcoin would have lost that, the measured move was right there. So it's fairly close. So we're already kind of to a measured move. Now we just got to wait for some pattern development to come through to see where we could go from here. The 4-hour chart would suggest that we're probably going to end up spending a little time having to work our way back up. And I say this only because, here was a 4-hour uptrend right here, this fuchsia line. And then here is the 4-hour line that we broke out of. Well, that would be our next support, is that, which is probably a good representation of that line and this support right here. So 28.5, and now this is a Coinbase chart, so I think based on my KuCoin chart, I'd say this 28.2 level once again, or 28.8 level, and then that would give us hopefully a bullish retest of this line, which you see we already got a nice bullish retest here. Now the issue here becomes, if this thing dies through this, that's when we are officially going to start. Yeah, I mean, if we come back into this pattern again, that's where I'm going to finally look to actually put in something way down here. And with any luck, that doesn't happen that way. But that's what I'll be looking at this point, just with the understanding that we're struggling to hold support levels that are necessary to maintain bullish momentum. And then we put in this guy here, which, who knows, maybe we could say it's forming a larger kind of a I don't know if I'd say it's a bull flag. I mean, the move that came into it was a positive one, but then you draw a line across the top of here, you got a decent line forming here, maybe we're forming a falling wedge. But again, that all assumes that we can hold on to the area that we're in right now, which I don't think is a given, but I also don't think it's impossible, because you can see here, I mean, this line right here with, it held most of the price action in. The only price action that it didn't hold in was this little kind of bearish fake out right here, and then you can see it sprung up off of it. So, I guess the big thing here will be, do we get something similar, right? Do we come out of this pattern and then break back up into this section up here? Man, that's the question, right? That's the question. But at this point, it's kind of tough for me to look at this and say with any real definitive statement to you guys what I think the downside target is for today. Could be here, it could be below here, but I think, again, the main thing is, if the bulls can just defend this level, then we're in decent shape, actually, because this was like the final line in the sand. We wanted here, we wanted here, we wanted here. Hell, we wanted here if we, but we got here. So now, as long as we can hold this, again, going back to the daily / weekly view, again, if we can just hold that level, it gives some positive, indications for another push to the upside. So we shall see. I mean, nothing's changed in my mind as far as the targets for the week, with the exception of, again, if we close out today below where we would need to and again, that would be at the 21 simple moving average. If we close below that today, then I'm going to be looking for a move down to here probably the following day. So again, it just all depends. We got to get the proper closures in order to expect certain moves, and that's pretty much it. Let's hope that we actually do get something that looks like a double bottom this week, and then we can have maybe a couple of weeks of green. And if it doesn't work out that way, cool. Let's hope that we just go ahead and flip the script, and that it ends up looking a little more like this kind of setup where this thing pops up off of this lower level, fires up, and that's really the one we've been looking for. That's really the one I was kind of hoping for / looking for, was the 3 green weekly candles to push back up to this level. But maybe we hold off on that until next week. Let the 21 cross the 100 here, and then we go ahead and can start making our way back up to it. So that's pretty much where we're at. Again, nothing's really changed. This will actually be a shorter video finally. But yeah, I mean, again, let's just hold this level. Let's work on getting our way back up. And you can see here, actually, Bitcoin's responding a little bit. It does look like, to an extent, something of a double bottom is starting to play out here. It's even managing to just kind of hold this level, this 29,432. If it falls through there again, 29,093, and then 28.8, and then 28.2 downside from there. So we shall see. But yeah, this is at least a halfway respectable start here. This little 15-minute double bottom action there. We'll see if we can't get a little pop. This is only a 15-minute chart, so won't get too caught up on this. But these crash patterns here, where all the moving averages cross over the 200, what ends up happening is when the 21 crosses, the price action tries to move back to it. As it starts to come down, it pushes. It may take a few attempts to recover the 21. But basically what you're seeing here is fairly standard and typical for a crash pattern. Now it does look as though it's not responding to these moving averages the way I'd probably like to see. So we may end up seeing an extended amount of sideways action here once again today, as far as kind of comparing yesterday to this right here. But we may see a decent amount of just sideways action again today, assuming it's going to hold this level. Because, again, that's how it's going to hold it. It's going to have to put multiple touches on it, keep getting bought up. And as long as that keeps happening, I would say that there's a strong chance that it could actually hold that level. And then, you can see here, there could potentially be a small uptrend starting again. And if it, kind of just holds it and then breaks back up into this area, then we got a chance to make positive moves again. So, but yeah, nothing vastly has changed. Really, downside target is still, for now, the same. And again, we'll start opening up to things down here if we lose those levels. But again, we're going to maintain the thesis that, or the hypothesis, depending. We're going to maintain that for now, at least, Bitcoin will hold the level that we needed to for the weekly. So I'm just going to look for in the meantime, just to kind of see it kind of stay in this area, fill in this particular section, and we'll go from there. So that's what I got for you guys. Appreciate you as always. We'll always be out here looking for some winners, and we appreciate you. Talk to you soon.